My name is Vladimir Pereverzin. I was sentenced to 11 years in Russian prison for the crime I never commit. This is how crime works. Russian prison system is just instrument to manipulate people. Human rights and living condition just unbearable. This is nonsense. That cannot be in civilized country. Like in Navalny case, person can disappear for 2 weeks and nobody knows where he is. I was arrested 2004. I was placed under surveillance and I was followed by secret agent. They make me a phone call to mobile phone and asked me to come to General Prosecutor's office for 20 minutes. So I was taken to some police department. It was night interrogation without any lawyers. I did not understand and didn't realize what I'm being accused for several months. I left Yukos oil company 2 years before my arrest. Yukos oil company was one of the biggest oil company in Russia, very well organized. Khodorkovsky was one of the main owner of the company and general manager of this company. It was politically motivated case because he claims that Russian government make corruption scheme. The goal of this process was just taking company from the owner. They accusing me of stealing crude oil. I did not realize sense of this acquisition because every single gram of oil and every single cent was on the balance of the company. I wasn't high-profile employee of Yukos. I didn't have any shares. I didn't believe that I was arrested. I made a phone call to my wife. She thought that we were pranking her. I was transferred from Butylka to Matrosskaya Tishina. Matrosskaya Tishina, it's a prison in the center of Moscow. It consists of several barracks where I was kept approximately first 10 days, was overcrowded with terrible conditions. There was just 10 iron bunks and about 25 prisoners. So I didn't sleep for several days. One moment I felt something crawling on me and tickling. I just turned out my t-shirt and saw body lices. I never seen them before, but I was sure it was lices, dozens. You cannot understand what is going on with you, where you are. So just like a dream, bad dream. I was transferred to more security cell. I was placed together with contract killers and gangs leaders. You are being watched by jailers every single minute. I was sure that every 10 or 15 minutes the jailers look through special glazok, peephole. And I spent in Moscow jails 2.5 years. Everybody always moved. So jailers just called you, you pick up your stuff and you remove to another. It's some kind of pressure to force me confess to crimes which never exist. Every court hearing, special guards bring you to the court. I was sure that I would be released. My innocence was so obvious for everybody. I was sentenced for stealing 13 billion US dollars and for stealing all crude oil produced by one of the largest Russian oil companies. I do understand this sounds ridiculous, just like a nonsense, but for this nonsense, I was sentenced to 11 years imprisonment. The first colony I was transferred was a strict colony in small village Melikhovo. We was transferred to Vladimir prison, and the next day we were transferred to Melikhovo. Transferring from prison to colony is the most dangerous moment for every prisoner because the prisoners disappeared. and nobody except jailers knows where the prisoners is. My transferring took 3 or 4 days. Ordinary training takes about a couple of hours, but in our case, 24 hours, because we were placed in Stolypin wagon. Originally, this carriage is for 4 persons, but we were about 10 or 15 persons in this carriage with our staff. I stopped eating and stopped drinking because the jailers will not let you go to the toilet. It's common practice to beat prisoners. I was beaten by rubber buttons, but not very severe. The previous group of prisoners, they beat quite severe. I was sent to strict penal colony number 6. Strict regime means that, according to the law, only prisoners who sentenced for serious crime could be sent to this colony, and who sentenced not the first time. There is special dress code, and the prisoner gave you shoes you should wear all year round for several years. Jacket doesn't make any warmth. Everything was made to make prisoners feel not comfortable. When group of prisoners arrived from the prison, they placed to quarantine, separate barrack, where the prisoners are being investigated by jailers. And according to the law, they are allowed to be kept 10 days, but the jailers have ways to keep them for as much as they want. It was the worst condition in this camp. You can imagine there is big room, let's say 32-story iron beds close to each other. You have to sleep face to face to another man. It was just not just toilet, it was just hole on the floor. It's called parasha. You can go to the shower once a week. There is one shower from the cell. 6 or 5 prisoners should manage to wash themselves for 15 minutes. Wash themselves and their clothes. Most of prisoners, not most, all of them, are dreaming to be moved to another building. I was the only prisoner who spent so much time in this barrack. In 3 months, I was transferred to another barracks for most dangerous criminals. Originally, there is 2 types of camps in Russia, red and black. Red colony completely managed by jailers. There is strict regime, no telephones, no drugs, no alcohol. But in black colony, the law is established by criminal code. The Thieves Code means just like a law for all prisoners. Criminal code or Thieves Code forbid violence between criminals. So if you beat someone, you would be punished by prisoners. In black colony, prisoners should follow this code. In black colony, there always someone in charge reported to criminal gangs outside. So there is a special criminal tattoo, some kind of label that someone belongs to highest criminality and recognized as a thief. There is thief stars tattoo in the shoulder and to the knees. There is a chapter in my book about untouchable. It's group of prisoners, ordinary prisoners, cannot touch, cannot shake hands, cannot sit where they sitting. They used separate dishes, spoons, tables, and they did work like cleaning toilet, They sent them to this group of people, for example, for terrible crime among prisoners. Melikhova, the first colony, they have several production area. They produce uniform for jailers, shoes for jailers, and bricks. I was keen to learn myself sewing. Then I worked as person packing hats. I was admitted to the group of people produced bricks. I woke up at 5 o'clock and we did some physical exercise. According to the regime, everyone should go to and make morning exercise. And then we went to the canteen, had breakfast, and then we go to the production area where we did these bricks. And it was real slavery. Unloading trucks with cement hacks. Then we bring these hacks into the machine to make cement. We mixed, and then we make some bricks. There was some special ingredients which makes this cement more strong. There was some poison. Definitely some of this dust comes to our lungs. So it's, but we didn't have any choice. But I'm still alive and can talk to you. So the administration and jailers are profiting from this production because they use it for their personal needs. Generally, I got for this about $20 or $30 per month. But I worked about 10 hours, so it was unbelievably hard work. Gulag, it's a prison camp system which existed former Soviet Union, and a lot of people were innocent and sentenced to imprisonment. Famous writer wrote books about the system, like Solzhenitsyn, Shalamov, Evgenia Ginsburg, for example. Common practice in Gulag system. A lot of people died from hunger. The keystone of the Gulag and modern prison system in Russia, prisoner is not a human. The most important feature of Gulag system that innocent people were imprisoned. When you are in prison, you realize that the jailers can do whatever they want. It's usual and common practice to torture prisoners and force them to confess to crimes they didn't commit. They knew exactly if I saw someone being beaten by jailers, I would make a complaint through my lawyer. So that is why they keep eyes on me and never did it just when I was near. I was punished. One jailers found some kind of knife, not really a knife. You know, when you buy some stuff in a shop, you have to have something to cut. And I was immediately placed to Shizo. Shizo, it's for punishment, small cells, iron bed fixed to the wall. There is some small table and small iron bench fixed to the floor. So narrow that you cannot sit comfortable, and I'm sure that the width of this bench was calculated by someone in Jailers Institute system just to make person not comfortable to sit, but not fall down. I hear some strange noise, and I saw rats. And they're coming from where? They're coming from the hole for toilet. People must put something to close this hole in the floor to prevent rats coming out. When you come to this place, There was a special suit on your back. They placed big letters, big white letters, Shizo, and there is special group of jailers who is responsible for guarding colony from outside to try to escape from prison. I think it's impossible. I know one guy personally who was trying to escape from the colony, from Melikhova. And this guy was sentenced 24 years for murder and for robbery. During night, he managed to escape. He was catched by jailers quickly, but he was free maybe 15 minutes. I saw him from distance. He was beaten, placed in Shizo. They didn't make him additional years for escape attempt. They keep in silence to save their reputation. Jailers can recognize you as a regime violator very easily. Like in Navalny case, they gave him a suit, smaller in several sizes. He was recognized as regime violator for just unbutton. But if you have small prison jacket, you cannot do it another way. Who is responsible for this violation? This violation let other jailers put him in Shizo. It's completely their responsibility. They pressed him every minute. Russian prisons have much less rights. You cannot sue the jailers. Extremely rare cases where you can initiate a trial against jailers, because in Russia they have much more instrument to influence on prisoners. US is more free society, much more than Russia. When I come to another colony with officially more easy regime, Vladimir, it's colony general regime, toughest day during my imprisonment. They make me violator of regime. I didn't agree, and I sent a complaint to the court. I was placed in more isolated barrack, and they tried to press me. I start writing complaints for administration colony, and when I sent my complaints, jailers stop allowing other prisoners to sleep. And other prisoners came to me and asked, "You place own interest higher than our interest. So because of you, most of the prisoners from our barracks suffered. So what should I do?" There is way to go to another colony or another barrack. So I knew that the only way, I just had intention to just injure myself and go to the hospital. Maybe 5 or 4 other prisoners jumped on me, and there was some kind of a little fight between us. But anyway, I managed to cut myself, not severe as I planned, but I remember this moment very well. I cried, "Freedom to political prisoners!" Thanks to this accident, I was free, because jailers scared to deal with me. They knew that you can did something serious. And then they sent me to Pokrov. When I came to this colony, the deputy came to me and told me, "Look, how are you going to stay with us? Are you going to complain, or what do you want?" He scared me, and he didn't want to have problems with injured and with scandal with other lawyers and etc. So we made some kind of agreement. I stopped complaining, and he didn't press on me. My sentence was reduced. I didn't believe that I could be released. My terms come to the end suddenly for me. Every prisoners are released about 10 o'clock. My son, my wife, my friends were supposed to come by 10 o'clock to the colony. And I was going to make some kind of farewell party to other prisoners. It's a criminal code tradition. So I bought some tea, some sweets in the shop. It's a real celebration. But I was woken up before general wake up. They gave me my belongings. I was released about 6 o'clock before other prisoners wake up, because they're scared. They scared press conference. When you released, they gave you some certificate of release, some money from your personal account. I received everything, every documents, all my stuff, money, all documents, and came out from the prison. I was really scared. There is one car standing near the exit from the colony, and some unknown people standing. From my previous experience, I knew they can do whatever they want. They can kill me, and nobody will find my body. They drive me to Vladimir bus station. I get out of the car. I thought, what should I do? But I have some money from my account, 1,000 rubles. And I went to the cafe in a bus station, bought ice cream and coffee. My relatives was thinking that I would be released about 10 o'clock. They were on the way from Moscow in a private car, and I took one taxi driver and asked him to make a phone call to my wife. I was surprised to remember number because it was not so easy. And I make a phone call, asked them that I am on the way. It was like a dream. We drink champagne. We burned my belongings, my suit. It's tradition. And we came to home. So I was lucky. And then I was just, enjoying just simple things. I was sitting on the chair, laying on the sofa. So I enjoy every moment in freedom. Before prison, I didn't pay any attention to just wearing comfortable shoes, for example. And you can stay on a hot shower as long as you want. Some small things. I don't feel angry. I want to be apologized. I don't want any revenge, but I want official acquisition. Number of politically prisoners increased tremendously. I was released in 2012, and I was almost the only one. But now a lot of people sentenced for nothing. Every political prisoner is in danger. Vladimir Karamurza, he is in danger. It's terrible things what happened to Alexey Navalny. He was murdered by jailers. The first colony Navalny was held, it was Pokrov. Then he was transferred to Melihova, and then he was transferred to Harp, where he was murdered. I was in shock, but I wasn't surprised. Vladimir Putin trying to threaten all his opponents. Navalny was isolated from other prisoners, and the jailers keep eyes on him 24 hours. Every jailer had video register, and definitely something happened. What authorities trying to hide. Where all these records? Why don't publish these records? It's terrible when so obvious innocent people are in prison. It's terrible that we're coming back to the Gulag times. I would prefer my book wouldn't be topical at the moment, because my personal story is nothing to compare to another stories. My book is called The Prisoner. This is my personal experience. I would like to share with everybody to understand whom they are dealing with. It's a story of personal, ordinary man like me. So it happens to anyone in Russia.